Today in the lab, we bring you Chris Dingman, a man whose story stretches from NHL glory to diverse roles in the business world. Known as Dinger on the ice, Chris' journey is a powerful narrative of victory, resilience, and transformation. His remarkable career, marked by 2 Stanley Cup triumphs, is a story of dedication and perseverance. But what happens when the stadium lights dim and the cheers of the fans fade? Chris openly discusses the challenges athletes face when stepping away from professional sports. He emphasizes the necessity of planning for life after the game, highlighting the common misconception that athletes can retire without future planning. His insights are invaluable for anybody navigating career transitions, be it sports or business. That said, a Bathlete's life spans beyond the rink or field and doing business. In our conversation, Chris reflects on his role as father, husband, and stresses the importance of setting a good example to instill values like hard work and integrity in his children. Throughout the interview, he offers candid advice to athletes and leaders, focusing on the importance of hard work, consistency, and finding passion in every transition you face. Chris's story is a testament to the power of humility and staying true to yourself, regardless of success. Join us for another invigorating and inspiring session in the lab. Chris Dingman, Dinger, his journey from the ice to life's varied arenas, offers lessons in adaptability, resilience, and the continuous pursuit of personal and professional growth. Join me in welcoming Chris Dingman to the lab. All right, so we have Chris Dingman joining us in the room. Shortened Dinger, I think. That's the nickname I think the guys gave you years back, I think. Is that correct, Chris Dingman?
That was an old baseball nickname. I used to be able to hit home runs. So it was either a double or a home run, or sometimes a single, depending on how fast I was. That's where the nickname originated from. And then it transferred on to Dishman when I was in Colorado, because Milan Hajduk, his English wasn't very good. And there was this football player, and his name was Chris Dishman. And he was like on the ticker in ESPN or whatever, the sports channel. On the bottom was like Chris Dishman. And then so I went on a little streak there in 3 games. I had 5 points, had 3 goals and 2 assists. But for warm up, I was the guy at the end of warm up that would pass pucks out to guys when they shoot on the goalie, and everything was a sauce. So I don't know how it started, but Milan Hajduk was like, Hedgie was like, "Yeah, you the dish, man, you the dish." So it started off as Dinger, and then became Dish. And depending on who I'm talking to, excuse me, whether it's my wife or my kids, it could be any number of names, like loser or a-hole, or no, I'm kidding. But
yes.
I've been called a lot of things in my life, so I'll take it.
Hey man, they're dad jokes, Chris. We're called everything along the way, aren't we? So before we get into nicknames and why you're here, let's introduce the audience to Chris Dingman. Introduce yourself. Where are you residing today? You're a former NHL professional hockey player. How many years did you play? What teams did you play on? To set the audience up to who Chris Dingman is.
Cool. If we're going to go all the way back, I'm living in Edmonton now. We moved back about 5 years ago. I'm with a company called Environmental 360 Solutions. So I've been with them for about 5 months, and it's been great. I like my bosses, which is weird. Most people don't, but really good bosses are laid back and let me do my thing. And my official title is Business Development Specialist. I guess it's a fancy name for sales, but basically I just go around and talk to people and sell stuff, and it's great just being able to talk to people, and it's intimidating. So when you play hockey or whatever, you play sports and you play in front of 17, 15, 20,000 people, say, the venue and how many people show up, and you're nervous for your first game, and after that you're not. Like for Stanley Cup Finals, for Game 7, Game 6, I wasn't nervous at all. I didn't think I was oh my God, like whatever. I knew I just keep it simple, whatever, and then doing sales and stuff. It's intimidating sometimes. You just, okay, I got to work up the nerve. So I'm doing a lot of, since I knew of the company, I'm doing a lot of cold calling. So I just drive around and I just think of names and then people I used to do business with. And then I'll just look at them like, okay, I got to work up the nerve. Okay, I'm going to go into this building and just walk in. Hey, it's Chris Dingman, whatever, the D360 Environmental Solution. But, we do all types of. So with our company, we do waste management. So we do like everything, solidification pad, we have back trucks, we roll off bins, the whole. It's funny because I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Not what I'm doing, but I'm like, I don't even really know what I'm selling. And I'm selling everything, the package, whatever. Been doing this for a little bit, and it's been great. And actually, Paul Coffey was one of the original investors in the company, Small World. hockey, whether you want to call it the 6 degrees of Paul Coffey or Chris Dingman or Wayne Gretzky or whatever it may be. But yeah, so I've been doing that. So I've been in Edmonton for moved back a little over 5 years, retired in Tampa. I was drafted by Calgary, 19th overall back in '94. Played there for a year and a bit. And then I got traded. I was in the Fleury deal. I was the other guy. I went to Hershey for about a month and a half, and then got called up, and I fought Bob Probert twice, and actually won. So then he wanted to fight again, but he jumped me. Second fight wasn't really anything. And I can get into that story after. That's a life lesson for how you don't treat players. But anyways, so I was there for a couple of years and I won a Stanley Cup, the likes of Ray Bourque and Patrick Waugh. Yeah, Eddie Sakic, Forsberg,
Yeah.
Adam Flood, Rob Blake, going down the line. Then after we won, I woke up on Sunday morning and I had about 14 voice messages. This is back when I used to turn my phone off.
Yes.
And I was like, so you wake up, 14 messages, and I'm like, okay. Like something, first message, hey, Chris, Pierre Lacroix. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Something happened. And I was there for about 6 months, and I pulled my groin training camp and just wasn't playing as much as I thought. I guess I should have or wanted to. After coming off, I was in the Stanley Cup Finals. I was playing like 9 or 10 minutes a game, which is good for a fourth line guy. I had a couple assists, and I just looked at it. If I'm here and I'm playing 5 or 6 minutes, I'm going nowhere. I'm going to be out of the league in a couple of years. So talked to my agent, and then I got traded to Tampa. And I went there, and there was so many injuries. Like St. Louis was out, Freddie Modine was out, Tim Taylor, like going down like Dan Boyle. And so I went there, and like they were calling guys up straight from the East Coast. It was like good and bad, I guess. It was a great opportunity for some guys, and other guys, whatever. So I was there for I don't know how many years. I lived in Tampa for about 14, 15 years, give or take. So played there, won a Stanley Cup in 2004. For a couple of years, obviously we had the lockout, missed a year of hockey, which cost me $900,000. That kind of sucked,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest. But it's all right. So I played in Europe for a couple of years. I played in Sweden and Denmark, and then after Denmark, it was so depending on the league you play in, practice. So in Sweden, you practice in the morning. In Denmark, you practice at 5 o'clock because your bottom, let's say your bottom 7 guys on your team, they have jobs. So a couple of them worked at a dealership. I think they were selling cars. One guy would fly from where would he fly from? Aalborg to Copenhagen every day because he's going to police school. So the team would pay for him. He'd fly every day. But in Europe, flights are super cheap, especially because the flight was only like 30, 40 minutes. He'd fly there and back every day. So half the practices, he'd show up halfway through practice and throw on a tracksuit or something. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is a joke. No offense or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyways, I was like, okay, good for him. And then so I did that. That was a good experience. And I played the Continental Cup. And so it was good. It was fun. And then I had this coach. He's a Finnish guy. I can't remember his name, but he's like, yeah, you take face off? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd taken a face off. I don't know. I think I'd taken 2 face offs in 8 years. Sorry, my phone fell. I apologize. My laptop's giving me trouble, so I'm going to try and not make anybody motion sick here. Try and keep it like that. Yeah, anyway, so he's like, you take face off? I was like, sure, absolutely. And so I win the face off. And after that, I took every defense's own face off the rest of the year. So it was great. But I was dying. I was playing like 23, 24 minutes, and that's like way too much. So like David could maybe do that. Dinger couldn't do that. I could, but I lost about 15 pounds, and there's such a thing as too much ice time. But it was a great experience, and my wife had just given birth with our youngest or our oldest, sorry, and he was 3 months. How old was he? And from apartment, it's nice, it's good, but you're practicing at 5. And then I had a deal to go to. I think I was going to go somewhere. I could have gone to Italy the next year, and just went. What am I doing? Playing hockey to play hockey. The money was okay, but my wife was very happy because you have a young kid. You're by yourself. You don't really have family. You don't have a babysitter. I reached out to the PR guy for the Tampa Bay Lightning. His name's Bill Wickett, and I was like, Wick, hey, looking to do something different. He's like, you done? I said, I think. And he's okay. Like, you're done playing? I said, I think so. So I started doing like season ticket renewals and sales stuff and all different guys, radio.
Yeah.
So I started that, and then I got into actually got into TV on the broadcast. I did 12 games the first year, and then 30, 24, 30 next year, and then 50, and did that for about 8 years. My last year, I think I did 30 games in between the benches, and Actually had a morning radio show, the Kirk and Dinger morning show on CBS Radio, 98.7 The Fan, 888
Yeah,
987
okay,
987.
okay,
I can still
okay.
remember that. That was sports talk in the morning, so I was doing both actually. I was doing the games at night, and I was doing the radio show in the morning. So I get up at 2:30 and go for a run and do my prep, and I get to the studio about 5, go on air about 6, and then 6 to 9, and then go to practice or whatever, and go home, take a nap, and then go back to the rink if they had a game that night, and then they actually moved. They moved the TV studio. They built one in Fort Lauderdale for away games. So when I first started doing, it, I was traveling with the team, which was great. You're flying on the plane. If you want a beer, red wine, or steak or chicken, you walk on the plane. It's like you're a player, and so that was fun. It was great to travel around. And then they built this studio in Fort Lauderdale, so I was flying back and forth sometimes, like 3 days a week. So I go and fly. I literally do my radio show. I go off air. I drive straight to the airport. I head down to Sunnyside Park, and I always flew Southwest. And I check in 24 hours before, so I was in the A, and I always talk to the people very nicely, and they give me like a pre-board so I can sit in the first row because I have some knee issues and back issues. But I also had to get off the plane. I literally get on the plane, first row. It was like a 30, 40-minute flight. Land. As soon as I landed, straight off the plane, I had like carry on. I didn't check any bags on the way to the hotel. I'd order my lunch and pretty much be there by the time I checked in. I'd eat it, go for a nap, get up, work out, go to the studio, do the game that night, get up the next day, do my radio show at the studio, which was about 5-10 minute walk from the hotel in Fort Lauderdale. After that, get off air and then go straight to the airport, fly home, get home about, I don't know, 12. I'd do that 2-3 times a week. I was coaching too at the time. And so it was busy and it was good. So yeah, I did that for, like I said, the radio shows for about 2 years. And we actually got to number 5 in the market, which is unheard of, but the station as a whole wasn't doing very good. So they gave it 2 years, and if it's not making money, they flip it. And so that was done. And then I was doing TV, as I said. And then the same guy, Bill Wickett, was like, Wick, he talked to me around Christmas time. He's like, "Can I talk to you?" I was like, "Sure." And he's like, "I just want to let you know, we'll give you a heads up. They're going a different direction." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Different direction." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're out." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm out?" I'm like, "Doing TV." "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're done." And I'm like, I actually won an Emmy 3 years in a row for broadcasting. So that was a tough pill to swallow, a little disappointing. But you realize like the industry where sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. It's just, it was a situation where the other guy doing my job was Dave Anderchuk, and Andy and I are, been friends for a long time. And there's a statue of him outside. And the guy who was doing colors was Bobby the Chief Taylor, and he was pretty pronounced backup, and they need somewhere to put him. And the messed up part about it was that the in-game producer, he was trying to get me and Chief to switch. He's, "I don't want to take his salary away, but he's like, "You're good. I want to get you on the games." And that's what I started doing in between the benches. And anytime there's an opportunity on the road, if let's say in Canada wasn't doing the game or something, he'd throw me in between the benches, which was great. Except I drink a lot of coffee and I got a tiny bladder. So there's a game at Ottawa that went to overtime and a shootout, and I literally almost peed my pants because it was.
No kidding.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, because you can't get out of there once you're in there. Like you
Once
can't
you're in there.
until the team leaves or the players leave, you're stuck in there." Yeah, I did that. And then it was just done because then Brian Engblom he was with NBC and he was out of a job, and he's actually a buddy too. He's a great guy, but he knew he was friends with one of the guys at the network, and I was just out of a job. So I was coaching for a little bit. I was working at a rink, and then going to school. So she actually went back to school and got her master's in creative writing and poetry.
Mm-hmm.
She's an English major, basically, and I don't know what I just did there. I'll be
Just
right back. There we go. Sorry about that.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, technology is my friend.
Dude, so listen, I feel like because we're in the locker room, we can crack jokes at each other. For somebody who's been in broadcasting, I got to tell you, man, you got to figure out your equipment over there.
I couldn't figure out my laptop, so I'm using I have 2 phones. I got a work phone and my regular phone.
What it is?
That rattles my cage. Using a laptop is just it's my nemesis because I got to type in my. I don't know if you can see my hands very well, but
all right. So Bapple Nation, we're gonna fly Dinger to Winnipeg next time, so we can come into the studio with us, so we can give you guys a high quality studio production, and we'll lock Dinger in here and not give him the bathroom and get some coffee for him. But Chris, you haven't stopped. We use the word transition. So you went from hockey to, it sounds like, constant transitioning. Am I correct?
Well, there's a bit there. It was hard where there's about a year where you play golf and because you're living in Florida.
Yeah.
And the weather's nice and you're playing golf, and then you're going to games, and it was always nice to people. Like I don't know. I just remember like talking to Gretzky a couple times, and I heard stories about. And I remember I was in St. Louis, and I saw him, and people came up to him and he's, "Listen, I'll sign anything just not while I'm meeting with my family. And literally he'd send his wife and kids home, Janet and the
Yeah.
kids, and he would stay and he'd sign whatever. And I just remember that. So I always tried to treat people really well, like trainers and people who
Yes.
worked in the building and all the security people and stuff. And which is a good thing and a bad thing. So where I'm going with that is, so I was really good buddies with the box office guy. So I got tickets to everything. And part of my deal when I first started, when I talked to Wick there, was that he's like, I can't really pay you, but he's like, I'd like to go to concerts. So I was like, absolutely. He's like, okay, I'll give you free concert tickets. So I literally went to Bon Jovi, Metallica, every show, and I barely paid for half of them, to be honest with you. And but they were like the best seats. Like, I literally went 3 days in a row. I went to Lady Gaga. Took my wife to Lady Gaga. I went to Iron Maiden with my buddies because my wife's like, Chelsea's like, I'm not going to Iron Maiden. Screw that. And then Katy Perry was the third one. So it's a kind of a little bit of everything there in the music world. But so yeah, I was doing that and we were playing golf and I was going to games and I was working. So I was working a little bit, but I only did 12 games that year. And it's like you can drink for free. There's a lounge there and stuff. So it's one day turns into two and four, you're like half of the bag 5 days a week. And then my wife's figure shit out. So we had young kids. So I was like, okay. So yeah, I was doing that. And then I got really serious about the broadcasting because anything I do, I want to be good. I want to be good at it. I don't want to be half-assed. I don't want to be shitty. I want to be good. And that's been my full focus the whole time. And so yeah, I was doing that. And then I actually did landscaping for a little bit too. I had a buddy who I golfed with and he owned a company. And so I was thinking of investing in it. So I was learning how to do it. And I don't know if you've ever done landscaping, but it's hard work.
Yes.
And when you're in Florida, it's really hot and humid. And when it's 95 degrees and the humidity's off the charts, yeah, my shoes halfway through the day, my work boots, you can hear like, shirt, like a dry, like a workout, like a super dry
Yeah.
fit, tight
Yeah.
one that would whisk all the sweat. And then I had two other shirts I would switch during the day. And oh yeah, I did that for a little bit, and the broadcasting and the radio, and then and just one thing to another. To be honest with you, because
What's,
they didn't make. Go ahead.
what strikes me most about your journey is the many times you probably were humbled along the way. Because you said that I'm playing in front of 15,000, 17,000, 20,000 people. I'm in the Stanley Cup. People are wearing my name on the back of their jersey, walking around arenas, asking for autographs. You're getting the accolades of a professional athlete. Now you're talking like just a normal dude, like all of us out there. And talk about that transition in your head, Chris. When you
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't like it's hard because it's what you do, and then the first training camp when you don't go, that's the hardest. And you train all summer, prepare for training camp because my agent was like thought he could get me something, and then you don't have a contract or you don't even have a training camp invite, so you're just training, and then you. I went to Europe for a couple of years, but then you're still training, but you're not really sure what you're doing, and then it was good and bad because it's like I was done because I didn't want to do the Europe thing anymore. Like if I
Mhm.
didn't have a wife and kids, because I'm like, what am I doing? My wife's miserable. She came over the second year and she got like there's a European flu or something, a stomach flu. So her and my son like basically puked for 3 days. And I was in Denmark and the washer and dryer were outside. You had to go outside and then around and then down in the basement. And then in Europe, like every cycle takes 2.5 hours. And that was like over Christmas. So that was not a very good Christmas, to be honest with you. But that's right. I was like, okay, what am I doing? And so the transition wasn't too bad.
Mhm.
Like it was hard at first. And the biggest thing is when you're done, like, who's still your friend? And
Mhm.
that could be a good thing. So there's people that hey, well, we're buddies, and then you don't hear from them, and sometimes it's just life because people have kids and people have jobs
Mhm.
and stuff and all that sort of stuff. But then there's the flip side of it where there's people you didn't think you're that good friends with or buddies, and then they call you and like, how you doing? Everything good. So I was lucky. I
Interesting.
had a pretty good network of friends, and I kept the same group of friends since elementary, junior high.
One of the themes that I'm gathering from some of the retired pros that I speak to is surrounding yourself with people outside of your team. And what I mean by team is your immediate hockey team or pro football team or baseball team. Keep people around you that helped you get there because when the game is done, you need those people to be there when you're done. Is that similar advice you would give to an athlete right now who's going through their career?
Start thinking about what you want to do. Is the biggest thing is that you never know how long you're going to play. You don't have to live like everybody else. This is what you do. It's what you've always done. You don't want to think about anything else. And yeah, it doesn't last for very long for a lot of people. So that's the biggest thing is like think about what you want to do when you're done. Even when you're playing, like that's the biggest mistake maybe I did or didn't do is that not everyone can get into broadcasting. Not everyone can just hop into something. And most guys, you don't make enough that you can just retire and do nothing. So that's maybe the biggest misconception is that, hey, you just play and you make all this money and you just shut her down and play golf and hang out and drink beer. Well, it's not the case for a lot of guys. So that'd be I guess maybe my best advice would be start thinking what we want to do and start having an exit plan.
It's poignant advice in the same breath because there's this perception amongst fans, audience, that these guys make all this money. What are they doing working again? Why are they calling on me at why are they landscaping? Not everybody's making Gretzky or Coffee or Matthews or McDavid money, right? So there's more guys not than are, and guys have to go back to work, right?
Let's say I never made $1 million, but if you make $1 million, what's that after tax? It's $650 maybe. The more you make, the more you spend. The more you get for free too, because I tell you, when you're done playing, you don't get free sticks or free equipment anymore. So that's a real eye opener. Because the CCM guy that used to take care of me, he's like, "Hey, can I get a stick or two?" It's like, "Yeah, sure. Let me whatever." So,
never thought about that part, right? Not only are people not taking your phone calls anymore because you're not Chris Dingman, the hockey player, you're not getting the free shit anymore either.
Yeah, the same guys. You're like, "Hey, you use our stuff and use it." It's like you're asking for a lot, but I was really nice people. I was really good to the trainers. So every time I got traded, I left with a lot of stuff. So I'm still using my laundry bags from Colorado, and actually my kids are using them, which is crazy because I was back. I got traded there in 1999, and Smokey was a trainer there. He was awesome. He's a little shorter guy and he had a huge mustache. I make him laugh every day. I'm like, I'm gonna make you laugh every day. He's like, no, you're not. So I'd wheel in and put a jock strap on and do a couple stretches and jumping jacks, and then just a jock strap. So he would start laughing and do that. And then they open a Krispy Kreme. So every morning I bring him in. The other trainer, I'd bring him in a couple 2-4s of donuts, and again, you just treat people well. Like I think because those guys, they work hard, and they're the ones like you.
Yeah.
When you land, you go to the hotel. They're going to the rink, and this is a funny story actually. So they had the 30th anniversary of the Lightning, and back in March, and they started the Wall of Fame, and they inducted Phil Esposito and Marty St. Louis and Vinny Lecavalier.
Mm-hmm.
So they invited everybody, like pretty much all the players from all the years, and I went. There's Brian Boyle. There's Dan Boyle, there's Callahan, there's Chris Contos, Chuck was there, Modine, St. Louis, Montreal was in town. So guys from all different eras, and Teddy Purcell is another name. So anyways, every night's doing something or having a few beers. And then, so one night we're at the bar and Callahan's like, "Hey, Derek, come have a beer, Callie." And I was like, "I don't know, I'm going to go to bed." Because they're getting an Air Canada flight to leave on time out of Canada. It's just not going to happen. So we had a long travel day, whatever. Anyways, first time not having kids in about 3 years. First time we were alone. Anyways, the next day I was like, "Oh, how's it going, man? How's the night last night?" He's good. And I said, "What'd you guys do?" And he said, "Oh, we just went to the room, hung out in the room." I was like, "Whose room?" He's like, "Locker room." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I texted Molly." Mulligan's one of the trainers. He's like, "Texted Molly. He picked us up when they got home from the airport." So I guess the team had landed. I didn't know. So we got in before the team. Like we were there for the Saturday night game, and the induction was on Friday night, and so, anyways, they got with the trainer, and the trainers picked them up, and they helped them unpack the gear, and they were having beers till about 4 in the morning. So I was like, "What time did you do that to?" He's like, "About 4." And I'm like, "That's like awesome." There's no other sport where guys like that. You're helping the trainers out to unpack equipment and do laundry until 4 in the morning. But the cultures there really like when you talk about culture and company I'm with Environmental 360 Solutions. The culture is really good, and so when winning teams and we won in 2004, and then they've won a couple cups since, and because you had St. Louis was still there and a few guys, and then Stamkos and Edmund, and they were young players, and now the culture is unbelievable. Where this is how we do things. We're professional. We're about winning, and it's a big thing. Like people don't understand, and same with companies. Like when you like where you work, and it makes your life easier. It makes you want to work harder, and obviously you want to make money too. But there's more things that are more important. Like for me, I just wanted a 3-year deal. I could never get a 3-year deal. I could only get 2. So
when you sit here in front of me today, are you Chris Dingman, the hockey player? Do you still hang on to that identity, or are you Chris Dingman so much more? Hockey player, broadcaster, sales, father. Like when you get up every single day and go through your day, who are you today, Chris?
That's a tough question. I think my identity is really tied to the fact I played hockey because it's brought me a lot of success, and even in business, it's people recognize the name maybe, and it really helps me in business.
They want to connect to your experiences, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. I was in a business meeting, and something had happened. There was an issue with one of the trucks and the operator. And so one of the guys asked me if I could go. So I called this guy and set up a meeting. And there was a big construction company. And so I got a meeting for Monday morning. So we go down to the site and say hi, whatever. And they make us go sit in a big conference room for like a good 5-10 minutes just to eat shit. Like, cause we had a mess up or whatever. And they're just talking. And we're talking. What are the issues? Okay, what can we do? And said, "Oh, you guys are hockey fan?" And the guy goes, "I'm not." The lady, the superintendent or whatever, I don't know her exact title, but she's like, "I am." Cool. So, hey, bro, I had my Stanley Cup rings with me. I never wear them, but I've actually had them in my car. I don't even know why I had them in there, but someone asked if they could see them, so I was like, "Sure, I don't care. I let people put them on, take a picture. I think it's great." Like, I don't.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh yeah, let's see something cool." So it's just, this is going. My husband's gonna be jealous, whatever. And like, so, type of God, if you make someone happy, I think he's great. I like doing that. And then so the guy, he was like straight faced and was like not going to be easy to, not easy, but we had to work to get the work back. And okay, what are the issues? Okay, primary contact. I'm your secondary contact. Okay, if you have any issues, yada yada, yada, all this stuff. And so it was good. So I was like, "Oh, you want to hear a story?" And he's like, "Sure." I'm like, "You want to hear a hockey story or a music story?" And he's like, "I don't really care." I'm like, "Let's pick one." He's like, "Oh, let's go music. I'm not really a hockey fan." I said, "Okay." So I launched a story. I tell him a story where I played drums with Garth Brooks in Vegas. He has this charity, and they've been going for 8 years or something. He'd get a guy up to play or sing every year. And so one this year, he's like, "Hey, Dare, I hear you play drums or whatever." So, anyways, long story short, I went down to sound check and I played a song that night that I only played once in my life and almost beat my pants and did it almost perfectly. And yeah, walked off the stage and see me again. I've had a good life. I have won 2 cups. I played drums with Garth Brooks in Vegas. I told him that story and he was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty good." And the back truck guy, we work, one of the guys that owns the back truck company. So with Environmental 360 Solutions, we've acquired, like, the company's acquired like 60 companies. Anyway, so like there's a bunch of vac truck companies, garbage companies, and whatever. One of the guys that owns a vac truck company, his name's a French guy, Matt. I met you. So he's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" I said, "I think it went good, buddy." He's like, "I don't know." I said, "I think it went good. I think we're okay." He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "I'm pretty sure," because I'm like, they make you eat shit. So you sit there and they make you uncomfortable for a good 5-10 minutes. Right? Because we messed up, like I didn't, but our company did. So how do we make it right? And there was an issue, and the truck and whatever truck broke down, and the guy. Long story short, the truck broke down. The guy quit, didn't tell anybody, so the guy couldn't get a hold of anybody. So hooped him for a day or so, whatever. But the guy understood. He's like, personnel stuff that happens. And so anyway, so I said to the guy, I always do a follow up text. Anything I do in business and everything, maybe I shouldn't. I've been told I shouldn't, but I refer to my family or refer to life because not everybody, but everyone's got a family of some sort. You have parents or brother or sister, kids or whatever. So I try to relate everything I do to life and my kids and how's it going? I'm like, people are like, "Oh, how's it going?" I think you say hi to somebody and, "Oh, how's it going?" Not too bad. I feel old and fat. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, my body's killing me." Then I'll launch in and tell them why. "Oh, I was skating last night or whatever. Try to do shit I used to do 30 years ago or 20 years ago that I can't." And anyway, so when I got the guy to smile, so I told my Garth Brooks story, and he smiled a little bit, and I was like, "I think we're good," because he smiled, but he wasn't gonna. It wasn't gonna be easy. We had to work for it. He was like, I met my wife. You're trying to, like, I guess, wheel or whatever, and it's never easy. Nothing good in your life is easy. Winning a cup is hard. It was easy. Everyone could do it. So, anyways, I was saying to him after, I was like, "I think we're good." He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Yeah." So they texted us. So I always do a follow up text. Thank you very much for your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Please let us know if there's anything you do. I'm 47, and the gentleman was probably 50, somewhere in there, give or take. I don't know. I don't want to age him, but so he gave the thumb. You can do the thumbs up on a text. I
Yes.
didn't know that till like a year ago, till my kid showed me. But yeah, I'm like technology. I used to be in radio
Yeah.
and TV.
Yeah.
Man. Like, I have my earpiece. I
Hey,
know how to count.
believe me, I can tell you're not tech adept. So next time, Dinger's family, we want to have you guys here to help Dad out.
Yeah, thank you. You know how many times I hear that? You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Hey, I'm not the one calling you the idiot. I've been called worse.
No, I know you're not. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so the guy gave me the thumbs up on the text. So I was like, I told the guy when I saw him at the office, I was like, "I think we're good."
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, "Yeah, we are," because I'm like, he didn't have to give the thumbs up, but he did. I think he appreciated it. Took the time and explained, and things happen sometimes. Yeah, then we're good. So I talked to the guy again, like after a couple week later, I was like, "How's it going? We get any business?" Like, "Oh yeah, they've been So it's been good again. So just stuff like that. So in my identity, yeah, I'm a hockey player. I'm an ex-hockey player, but I'm a dad. I'm a business guy. I'm a coach. I'm an asshole some days. I try to be a nice guy most days. Just a lot of different things. But I think I really did. I wish I could have done longer.
A term that's come through the lab here in the last week or so. I met with a fellow named John Graham Harper. He takes his dose of vitamin G every day. He takes his vitamin C, his vitamin D, and he always ensures he takes his vitamin G. And I share that with you because you strike me somebody who's full of gratitude and full of just being fortunate to do what you've done and fortunate to do what you get to do every single day. Am I right?
Could have been better. It should have been better career-wise, but obviously winning is
hold
huge.
on, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. Should have. That's a difficult word that sometimes I think we all hang on to too much, because should is in the psychology word, it's a bad word. So unpack should for me. It says who should you have done what?
It should have been, could have been. But I mean, live your life like that. I don't.
That's right.
Went through that phase where now it's like, whatever. I was lucky to play. I was lucky to win. But if the GM and the head scout that drafted me in Calgary, they don't get fired. I don't get traded to Colorado. I don't win a cup. But
Right.
maybe I play there and I'm like Jerome Ginla, and maybe I'm in the Hall. I would have been in the Hall of Fame, but I had 2 goals in 6 games. I was like, I think I'm going to score 40. And then I got punched into the fourth line because guys were bitching about ice time. We were 2 and 10. I didn't score for 3 months, but my next goal was in Madison Square Gardens against Wayne Gretzky and Mike Richter, and that was pretty awesome. I was celebrating. I was like, I tried to wrap around, got the rebound, went bar down, and all the boys are like, fuck it, it's day. I was like, whenever I get to the bench, and Brian Sutter goes,
You've talked about family many times during our conversation so far. You've talked about relationships as well. What advice are you giving athletes, retiring athletes, guys that are just starting out or even on the way to ending their career? What are you giving them to maintain that strong family relationship and just the relationships around them?
I say find what you do or what you really like and be good at it or be great at it. And like it's hard to. Some people work jobs where you don't really like it, but the money's
Mhm.
good, and especially in Alberta, like I go pipeline and they get a shit ton of money. And I've actually thought about it a couple different times. I'm like, well, maybe I'll go do it for the summer and just to make some extra money and stuff. And then, but I'd say like make passionate about, because if you're really passionate and you like something like this job, like we're going to feed 360, like I like it. So when I have an opportunity to make money, and money's not the be all end all, but it's important because life's expensive, and telling your kids you can't afford stuff. Or there's been a couple times where it's like, hey, because my kids both play, my 2 boys play hockey. They're 17 and 15. It's expensive, and
Mhm.
God forbid those one piece sticks can last like 2 months. And then I have a 4-year-old daughter. I always say same wife because everyone's like, it's a big spread, and it was like, hey, do you want another kid? Can we have another kid? And she's awesome. So
Yeah.
like that was, she was a COVID baby, so it was actually the good and the bad of COVID and all that shit. Wherever I'm not going to
Well,
get into the whole conspiracy theory behind it, but the good and the bad was some bad shit because like hockey got shut down and people in their own agendas is like, you don't understand, like kids are getting sports taken away from them and going to school, which is huge, and mental health I'm a big proponent of, and the ability to socialize. So that part of it. But then the flip side is that if that doesn't happen, we're never in the same house as a family on the weekend because like 2 kids are on the same team now, but
yeah.
back then, so we all got to know each other and my daughter, and it was great. So part of the advice and the whole what I give guys is that know who your friends are, find someone you like, and you think you can do better, and maybe you can, but who really likes you for you? Who really likes you for what you do or who you are? And that's a tough thing to know. So I think you see you guys
Mhm.
like the divorce rate's pretty high, and I'm lucky had our ups and downs, but I still fight. My wife tells me to shut up and I'm an idiot, and I usually am, but sometimes I'm right. Then if I am, it's like, why are you always going to be right? Why gotta be right all the time? And I'm like, no, I'm not. But the odd time I am right, I just like you to acknowledge it, please, because it's not
Yeah.
very often. Well, just please. So, anyways, yeah, that would be my thing. Is it don't, because I remember I went and saw this psychologist a few times. And he worked with the Rays and sports psychologist guy. My wife and I went because we were just arguing and whatever. It was miserable.
Yeah.
I was doing the landscaping thing. Like, okay, we were talking or whatever. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, landscaping. He's like, why are you doing it? I said, well, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, basically, or what I'm going to do. And he's like, okay, do you like it? And I was like, well, not really. And he's like, you need the money. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need the money. I'm like, well, yeah, I need money or whatever. He's like, oh, but do you need the money? I was like, he's like, yeah, I save my money. He's like, okay, so why are you doing it? I was like, well, because I have to. I got to do something. And he's like, why are you doing it?
Your audio is
Yes.
breaking up.
Oh,
Say
sorry.
that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I said, why are you doing it? And I said, well, I don't know. And it was a really simple question and a really simple answer. He's like, why are you doing it? If you don't like it, you don't really need the money. Find something else. You're just doing it and you're miserable and you hate it. Do it. Do something that makes you happy. And it was like, it's such a simple thing, but it was so complex.
I sit here and laugh. I've never made less money in my entire life, but I've never had more fun doing this show. But I'm passionate about it, and we're having great guests and great conversations. So, Chris, you've played on a number of teams. Describe a moment in your career, either on the ice or off the ice, that made you feel that deep connection with your team or the community.
Just off the top of my head. So I
There's
played
three of
Brandon.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
when I played Brandon, we won the Western League Championship. We bussed back. It was like 18 hours from Spokane. We got back, and there was like 1,000 people, or give or take, waiting for the bus. So I got a picture of me in my jean tuxedo, my jean jacket, wheeling off the bus with the trophy. Good to see jean jackets are back in style, but so there's that one. And I was in Colorado. There's a Dingman fan club. So there was like 4 people, maybe 5. It's had jerseys and they got a signed Dingman fan club, and I loved it. So I went and met them and signed
Yeah.
jerseys, and it was great. And so that was another one. And then just in Tampa, there was a few. There's a few people that were just like I ran into people that had my jersey, and I hadn't played for I don't know 10 years. And I was at a game, and there's a guy with the Dingman jersey, and I'm like, I gotta go say hi to this guy. And my buddy's like, what? I'm like, I gotta go say hi. This is great. And my buddy's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's wearing my jersey. I haven't played for like 10 years or whatever. So I went up and I was like, hey, how's it going? The guy turned. He's like, what? And he's like, here. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, fuck, I love the jersey. When'd you get it? He's like, I got it back in whatever, 2002. You want a picture? He's like, oh my God, really? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So that was come to where you're done playing, and then people that are still fans. And then when I went back, he moved, and I went back for game 6 in the finals when they're playing Colorado. And my kids wanted to go. Weren't sure. We get tickets, and then we got tickets from the alumni. And the Lightning alumni are great. And, so I was able to get 2 tickets, and then I was like, I got to bring my kids because they play hockey, and I wasn't sure if they remember because they're like 10 and 12 when we left, give or take, 11 and 9, somewhere in that ballpark. And so I don't think they remembered. I took them to pregame skates. Like I walked around everywhere because what I did in my job, I could go anywhere in the building, and that was nice to people. I parked in the back lot. And like my kids in, like they met Kucherov and Stamkos and Ryan Malone. They were in the locker room, and they don't even really remember it. So just going back, so I went back for that for the game, and I did NHL Live and NHL Network and stuff, and so that was good. It was fun, but I was walking around the building, and people were like, "There," like fans, and like "There," and like looking, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like they remember, they still remember, Just had that teared up moment. So that would be another one too. It's just it's not about people remembering you, but like obviously there's great players in the St. Louis and the Caviers and Steven Stamkos and Edmund, Dave Anderchuk, the Hall of Famer, but people like they appreciate people to work hard and fight. So I was one of those guys. I was always in the top 5 or top 10 in conditioning in camp, and always worked hard and would fight and block shots. I played injured, and people really appreciate that, and I appreciate that
Absolutely.
people do. So anyone that's so people that'd be another piece of advice. Guys that bitch and moan about signing autographs are like, "Oh, I got to sign this," like whatever. Those are the same guys when you're done and no one wants your autograph. They're like, "Hey, you want my autograph?" Like literally, yeah. So I'd sign anything, and because I don't know when you're done, like if people still want your autograph. So even as a sales thing, we've moved. I don't know how many times, 4 or 5. Moved twice in Tampa. Every time you move, you just move shit to another closet, and then finally, before we moved back here to Canada, I started going through stuff, and I was like, "We're throwing shit away because I'm a bit of a hoarder. Like I have my kids' first shoes, first pair of skates, gloves,
Yep. Yep.
jerseys, a cool jacket. My kid, my
Yeah.
oldest boy Hunter had. We had a little bomber jacket, like a little like fake leather jacket. I kept all that shit. And I kept all the Halloween costumes. So my daughter actually this Halloween she went as a bumblebee, and that was my oldest boy. So I think he's like 14 years old. So I kept all the costumes, like all the stuff. And so anyways, I found a box of cards. It was a bunch of my rookie cards and then cards from Carolina. And So I always keep a bunch in my car, and I was like, yeah, it's a sales, not even a sales thing, just a fun thing. I was like, oh, yeah, by the way, you played hockey, you'd like the card? And they're like, oh, you played hockey? And what's your rookie card? And I always make a joke because I looked online once, and my rookie card unsigned, it was 75 cents, and signed, it was like 50 cents. So I'm like, fuck, man. So like me signing my card devalues it. That's kind of funny. Anyway.
Chris, you prided yourself in your conditioning. You talked about showing up in camp in shape, ready to rock and roll. Obviously, discipline got you to where you needed to be successful in your athletic career and probably clearly your business career as well. What are some lessons that you've taught your kids and you taught your boys, your daughter, and you're teaching your daughter? What are some lessons that you've learned along the way from your professional hockey career that you now deal with in your business life, your dad life, and you teach your kids?
Don't be like me.
Expand on that.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Somewhat. I know, obviously, there's things I could have done differently, and what history teaches you is insight. That would be the best way to put it. This wasn't such a big deal. This you thought was a big deal, like in high school or different stuff. And I guess patience, but I don't know. One thing I teach them is work hard. Just work hard every day. Be a good person. And it sucks because even in the hockey world, sometimes there's some assholes that get ahead, and it drives me nuts because it's like that kid's person. And it's not to put a kid down, but usually someone's not a good person. It's the parents' fault. It's not the kids. But I really try and stress. Like I get up at 5 every day, give or take 4:35. I work out. Doesn't look like it, but if I didn't work out, I'd look like a sumo wrestler because I wasn't blessed with the best metabolism. But so I get up here with the old mind, do as I say, not as I do. Like our parents' generation, where you smoked and drank, but it's like, don't do that, and like drove you around half in the bag. And so I've really tried to not. I don't believe in drinking and driving. I've never done that with my kids, and just stuff like that. Try to model good behavior because my wife's a big one of that. So you got to model good behavior. You can't say don't do what I did, but everything I do, and I tell my kids, I'm very honest with them with about majority of the stuff I've experienced, and it's just I don't know. I guess maybe like
Yeah.
there's times where if I went out the night before the game, probably shouldn't have, but it was that era, and I did, and I was able to. I was a guy that didn't matter if I had 1 beer, 10 beers, or 20. I could work the same. I could show up and had a pain threshold. It was like I was able to do it. So I don't recommend that. But again, that was a different time. But just showing up and working hard. You show up and work hard every day, and I believe you'll go somewhere and you'll get opportunities just because coaches, bosses, even in the work world, like it's just talking to different people. Like, man, I can't find anybody to work. I can't find anybody like nowadays. Like, you can't find anybody that wants to work. Like,
I just had this conversation with a fellow here earlier this morning that like the success we're going to have with this show is inevitable. And you know why, Chris? Because I come to work every single day. I do a live show Monday to Friday, and I don't give up a day. And I say that to you because, like yourself, just get up and go to work. A lot of people don't do that, and I'm going to call it out. A lot of people are inconsistent, and they wonder how come I'm not successful? Because you're not consistent. You're not putting the work in. There's no easy tricks. You don't take Ozempic to get to the top of to win a Stanley Cup. You got to put the fucking work in. People don't want to put the work in.
Not everyone can be a YouTuber and play video games.
I asked you that because I had to get on recording because my kid's Chris now. Like, dad's a fucking YouTuber. Dad's got a YouTube channel. So it's actually a thing in this world because dad is the fucking YouTube star in this house, Chris Dingman. Okay? There's a new world of broadcasting out there, you my friend. I'm telling you, if you can get the technical shit sorted out, I'd love to have you and have your own regular show in the lab. We can have the Chris Dingman show, and we can have actually, here's the show. The Chris Dingman show with Chris Dingman. You only get half the audio.
Get half the audio, all the video, yeah. Once I figured out.
Listen, man, as we wrap up, I say that in jest because I've grabbed you for your hour. And I would love to welcome you back. But I just want to throw this on the table to you. I'm humbled at how humble you are. And I'm going to tell you why. I grew up watching you play hockey. I grew up watching Paul Coffey and Wayne Gretzky, all the names you mentioned. Okay. I'm a Winnipeg kid. You're talking about Gretzky. You're talking about these names. You're winning a Stanley Cup. You're throwing these names out. And you start the show by saying, fuck, man, I got to get the nerves to go do this cold call to this business down the street. That's a humbling moment. Like, you're just a dude like all of us. Okay, I got to get up the nerves, go knock on that door. Fuck, put Wayne Gretzky aside. I knocked Bob Probert out. I got a Stanley Cup ring. Fuck all of that. I still got to go grab the courage to go talk to that guy in the business over there to go sell him something. That is exceptionally humbling to me.
You gotta do it by yourself. And even doing
Yes.
TV, like the first time you do TV or you do radio or whatever, first time you do it, you're brutal at it. And not that you are, but most people, you're not great. But I was able to, I could talk, maybe because I didn't play that much. So I just talked the whole game. Actually, our producer for the games was like,
There's your skill set, right? You
yeah,
got your skill. That's it. Yeah.
first one, and I had like 3 pages of notes, and the producer was like, "Okay, I knew you were going to be good," but he's like actually showed up. He gave a shit because some guys like they're ex players, they just will go on TV and think it's easy, and they just talk, and then it's take a look, see here. And so he's
Yeah.
like, "You're going to do good when you had the notes," and he's like, the other thing he said is like, when the red light goes on, either you have it or you don't. So when the red
Yes.
light goes, like either you can talk or you can't, and like I did, there's actually a girl. Her name's Kelly Nash. She's on the MLB Network, and so we were Fox Sun Sports was Bally. I think it's called Bally now. Yeah, it's Bally. But
Yeah.
so we'd have different hosts work with us, and Kelly's a nice lady, and I'll never forget we're doing a post game, and she threw to the like you're doing your welcome back, you're Lightning Live, your host game, and so whether it's 3
Totally.
Lightning 5 back here at Emily Arena, blah blah blah. And so she threw to the guys in the booth, Rick and Chief at the time, and they weren't ready. And they could see on our screens, like they're sitting there, they're like having a coffee, they don't have the headsets on, and like, oh, let's go to Rick and Chief. And they're like, what? And the producer's like, no, in your ears, they're talking, they're like, no. So then they scramble, they put the headsets on, and she was rattled. Like she was like, oh, just rattled. So they threw back to us, and she's like, let's go to break now. I literally did the rest of the post game by myself. So took it back from like literally took it back from break. I was like, well, like live, let's go around the league. And we did all the highlights. Let's go to Ottawa. Ottawa Senators are playing the Maple Leafs, and did all the highlights. Literally did the rest of the 15 minutes of the rest of the post game show, and did it myself. I was proud of myself, but she was just bummed. And she was so rattled. I was like, don't worry about it. Who cares? Like shit happens, whatever. And then the bitter part of me a little bit is that she was really nice and she was good. She was a very attractive lady. So she goes on to the MLB Network and still working there, I believe. I don't follow her too closely or whatever. But anyways, and I'm out of a job like like a year or two later because they need somewhere to put Chief, and Brian Engblom was out of a job. So I'm out of a job, and she couldn't even. She froze up, but I like carried her through it and was a good teammate. So that was like I was a little bitter about that because I'm like, fuck, like she could barely do this, and I had to tell her. So even there's another guy, Todd Callis, and I don't know if you know that name, but his dad is super famous, and Todd Callis did the Rays for 20 years. I think he's in St. Louis now, and Todd was awesome because he's not a hockey guy, and he'd say, "I'm not a hockey guy. You just tell me where you want me to go, or we'll set it up for him." So literally, I'd say, let's talk about this or that. He'd set it up for me, and we had the best shows. And I'm like, I'm going to make you laugh. He's like, no way. And I'm like, I'm going to make you laugh. That's my goal. And like every broadcast I had him, he was like spitting. He was like he was literally spitting because he was laughing. But that was like my goal. But it was fun because you do baseball. You have 162 games or whatever. Like you can't be serious all the time. You need to find other stuff. Yeah, he was great to work with. So just like stuff like that. So I don't know how I got on that anyways, but yeah, it was interesting.
So Dinger,
I will tell you what. I will tell you one thing though. I got to tell you this. So one of the coolest things was so I got to host a few shows, and you've heard of Scotty Bowman.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm just saying, yeah. So with Dave Anderchuk, they had his statue, they had his game, and they unveiled his statue outside, and so I got to host that game, and it was live. So we do on the WB network the odd game, and it was live. There was no pre-tape like ahead of time. It was live. So I'm hosting. I hosted a little bit, and I get to host. I got Dave Anderchuk, and I got Scotty Bowman in the intermission, and then we had Steve Eisenman, different guys. But you have Scotty Bowman. I'd heard all the stories about the Scotty Bowman stories about cutting guys' sticks and like different stuff, and to be able to talk to him and I was like, so I've heard from different guys about the sticks, and like with Dave there, he had a pattern. The pattern is obviously it's your curve and your flex, and maybe for people that don't, so that's what a pattern is. It's your curve and your flex and the type of stick. Yeah, paint color, all that stuff. Anyway, so I was like, I heard Dave you switched some guys' sticks over the years, and what did Scotty say? He said, I couldn't help it if they were using the wrong lie or curve. I just helped them. And Dave was like, and he goes, I show up, I score 50 in Buffalo or in the OHL. You show up in Buffalo, and like literally the first day, my sticks are cut in half. And the trainer's like, I can't use those anymore. Scotty says, the wrong lie, wrong curve. So Scotty's like, I can't use these. And then I'd heard the stories, and there was a guy, Boyd Devereaux, played in Edmonton, and he played Detroit. Boyder's a great guy, like one of the best, nicest guys. So he was coming into town, and I saw him. I was like, hey, Boyder, how's it going? He's like, oh, good. So how you liking Detroit? He's like, good. I'm like, how you like Scotty? He's like, good. Oh, really? Yeah, he's good. I'm like, no, seriously. Like, he's good, but I've had the same pattern since I was 15, and all of a sudden I show up there, and my sticks are cut in half, and I can't use it anymore. So I was a little rattled, but he wouldn't say anything too bad, but I was just howling. I was like, oh, yeah, that's Scotty, So he's like, it's okay. So, anyways, had to get that story.
That's awesome.
But thank you very much.
Dinger, thanks for joining me today. Will you come back again for a round 2? I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. We'll get you some better audio. We'll send some microphone equipment, maybe some cameras, or we'll fly you here or something. But we'd love to have you back for round 2. I thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue, and this was really great, really enjoyable for me too. I was excited to sit down and talk to you today. I knew our show was coming up, and I don't have a Dingman jersey in my closet, but I remember when Dingman played. So we got to come back and hear about the Probert fights, and maybe some more Gretzky stories. Talk more business. Talk more about being a dad. But I would love to have you back for round 2, Chris Dingman.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, pal. I'm going to throw off to the green room. Say goodbye to the audience. Just hang tight for 1 second here. All right, guys. We're going to take Chris off. We're going to throw him out of there. We're going to go here. I'm going to go. All right. Keith Billis here live in the lab. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat today with Chris Dingman. Even though you might have only heard half of it, we're going to do the best we can to get that audio fixed up on Chris's side for you guys. He's sitting over there laughing, I'm sure, but he's in the green room waiting for us. We're going to fix his audio up for you guys to listen to it. Great show. Humble guy. What a great conversation with Chris Dingman today, joining us from Edmonton. Hey, listen, we go live in the lab Monday to Friday, noon Central, on LinkedIn, on X, on YouTube. Dale was supposed to be here today. We'll bring Dale back for round 2 to sit down with Chris. Dale's got the coughs today, so he was not able to join us in the lab. He kept his coughs out of the lab so we can all stay healthy. Guys, remember, go get yourself checked out. It's November, no month. Say no to a poison. Oh, yeah. Hey, we got to ask Chris what he's going to say no to. Say no to a poison this month. But most importantly, go get yourself checked out. I've sucked at it for a long time. I'm going to get myself checked out. Just go for a good old checkup. Not a bad thing to do. Gentlemen, see you soon. See you Monday. I'm Keith. I'm live in the lab.